The Jack Attack is back, and we are back here on the Jack Doyle Podcast. That is the great number 84, the former Colts player of 9 years, two-time Pro Bowler. I'm Matt Taylor with you on another week. Jack, you were talking right before the podcast started, brother, that your voice is a little shot there.
Yeah, you know, I've been coaching some third grade football, yelling tackle way too much. The PE job, you know, I told the kids yesterday, I've lost my voice a little bit.
Okay.
Let's be good, let's listen, and they did a great job. So
really?
So yeah, you know,
they respected the teacher there?
They respected. Are they, you know, heavy on the whistle yesterday? That's for sure. Heavy on the whistle, but no, I'll be all good. I mean, how could I not show up and talk Colts football right now?
Absolutely.
I mean, how about this start?
Yeah.
And how we're rolling?
So what unit are we in? Are we in like basketball now, or
we are doing handball? We got one
handball.
Handball's
Wow.
a lot of fun.
We never did handball.
Yeah, handball's a lot of fun. It's you know, I had a teacher in college who actually played for Spain's Olympic team in handball.
No kidding.
So I learned a lot about handball in college, so it's fun to pass that down and all the things I learned, and it's a really exciting game.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, really action-packed. You know, kind of basketball, soccer-esque.
Wow.
You know, but
heck yeah.
But yeah, the kids are having a ton of fun. So me too.
So what am I thinking of? So that's a team sport, right?
It's a team sport, yeah.
So what am I thinking? What's the game where you like slap the ball with your hand against the wall? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like wall ball.
Okay.
Yeah, wall ball. I guess I'd call that.
Well, we're off to a rocky
that was a recess game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, that's a backyard game with your buddies for sure. All right, speaking of playing well with your buddies, that's what the Colts are doing here. They just annihilated the Las Vegas Raiders 40-6. You watched that game, I'm assuming, you know, with the family. I'm sure you were fist bumping everybody in the family room. What was the most impressive part of that dismantling of the Raiders? And that's the third time this year we've had to talk about a Colts team just completely laying the wood to another opponent in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, where do you start? It was all three phases, right? Defense showed up. You know, they gave up that little bit on that first drive, held strong in the red zone, give up 3 or whatever. Then special teams comes up, gets the kick return, right? Ashton Dulin, big play Dulin with the big, you know, gets called back. But it doesn't deter the offense, right? Then we go down and score a touchdown. Like that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when the Colts have had bad plays, you know, or negative things have happened. You know, the bad teams, they kind of go into a rut, right, and feel sorry for themselves. But the Colts haven't done that. They've always bounced back. They've always responded, and that's what they did to start the game on Sunday.
You know, the little things, the Colts took care of business, just playing good, clean, sharp football. What areas were they much more on top of that in this game compared to the week before against the Rams, when, you know, their sloppy play, their own miscues and mistakes led to the Rams win, if you will? Yeah,
like you said, just cleaner football. You know, didn't give up a sack. You know, penalties were still a little up.
Yeah,
but even though
9 of them.
Yeah, even the one down in the red zone that we had, we responded, right, and still converted on the third and long to downs. So not having too many penalties in the red zone and going 6 for 6 in the red zone, I mean, you don't do that, right? I mean, that's perfect football down there. And so, yeah, there's little things here and there, and the little things add up in a football game.
No doubt.
And the Colts were taking care of the little things, and you end up winning 40-6. I mean, it's just crazy the way they're rolling right now.
I mean, the crazy part of that game, if you go back and just look at how it actually played out, not only did they win 40-6, but they won 40-6 in the second and third quarter, right? Because they lost the first quarter and technically lost the fourth quarter, but that was a different dynamic because the game was basically in hand at that point. But they outscored the Raiders 20-3 in the second quarter and 20-3 in the third quarter. You mentioned how pristine the Colts were on third down. They were 8 for 10, 80%. That's the highest third down conversion rate in the history of the franchise. Wow. You know, they were 6 for 6 in the red zone, which you mentioned. I want to pick up there. Being perfect in the red zone is one thing, but scoring 6 red zone touchdowns is another. As a former player, can you put into words just how tough it is to execute at that high of a level inside the 20-yard line? Like, how much does football change?
Yep.
How much does the game change inside the 20 compared to the rest of the field?
Yeah, I mean, just think of it logically, right? The field shrinkens, right? The defense has less to guard, right? Less grass to cover, right? Mm-hmm. So you try to expand the formations, right? And you try to make the defense cover horizontally, right? And what the Colts did such a great job, you know, they hit on a little out route to Tyler. That was sweet. That's a great example of stretching the field horizontally. And then they just ran the ball, right? I think the key to having a great red zone offense is being able to run the ball down there, playing physical football. And when you have a back like Jonathan Taylor, you have an offensive line tight ends, wide receivers, everybody's in the run game and blocking. That's the easiest recipe to having success down there and eliminating the penalties that we've had early in the year down there. So those things, cumulative effect of all those things led to the success down there.
But how much does the defense typically change?
Yeah.
It's one thing to see a defense and have the game plan at the beginning of the game, but how much more aggressive, how many more blitzes do you see from the defense once you're inside the red zone, knowing that it's a win for them if they hold you to just 3 points?
Right, yeah. There's always it's almost a different package. It's kind of like there's situational football and red zone and third down. It's almost a completely different playbook for offense and defense, right? And when we're speaking of the red zone and like we said, the defense doesn't have as much to cover, vertically, you're going to see those blitzes. There's a lot of teams that right when you get in the red zone, they're big cover zero, right? And they bring the cover zero, or it makes it tough to run the ball. So being prepared for what they're going to do and being on point timing shows that the Colts are getting those reps on Friday practices. That's when you do red zone. They've been getting those reps since week 1, and the cumulative effect of continue to working together with all the different weapons we have and getting the timing down is leading to success down there.
One thing, it sounds football cliche. You hear this all the time, especially with offensive guys, offensive play callers, offensive coordinators. They say, think players, not plays. And I think that's evident inside the red zone where the Colts have so many options to deliver the football. You mentioned Tyler Warren. He's just a matchup nightmare. Jonathan Taylor running the ball. Michael Pittman Jr. made a great catch on a rollout by Daniel Jones, which I do want to talk more to you about. But I think that's what is making, it was a troublesome area at the beginning of the season for the Colts, but I really feel like they've turned the corner because they just have playmakers. I think that's what's most impressive to me about this Colts offense is that when there's a chance to make a play, they have so many different options and guys aren't missing those chances to make a play and change the outcome of the game.
Yeah, taking advantage of their opportunities, right? And like you said, Matt, we kind of talked about it a minute ago, how the packages for the defense, the defensive play calls change when you go in the red zone. A lot of teams will go to, we used to call it 77 coverage, where they would go double team your best guy, your best red zone threat.
Yeah.
Who is that for the Colts? Pitt's got the most receiving touchdowns, right? But then you still have Tyler Warren. Downs was making great conversions down there on the 3rd and long.
Yeah.
We can still run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. Daniel can use his legs. There's so many different options. Who do you try to take away?
I know.
That you're just creating problems for a defensive coordinator, keeping them up at night, right? Keeping them focused on, red zone defense a little more, so then maybe you're more successful on third down defense. And those are the things you think about as when you're going against a different coach and how you can create more problems for them, and that's what the Colts have.
But the rollout by Daniel Jones. All right, some late pressure. I don't know if it was a blitz or not, but some late pressure up the middle. He's rolling out to his right, throws a little bit against his body, back across his body, hits Pittman. He's open, but by the time the ball gets to him, he's got a defender in his face coming this way, a defender in his face coming that way, and still focuses on the football, makes a great contested catch. I thought that was the best play of the year for the Colts on both ends of that pass. Great pass, great catch by Michael Pittman Jr. Those are the plays that I don't think people really realize that Daniel Jones can make for this offense.
Yeah, it's the off-time plays, right? The off-schedule plays, right? And we haven't seen a lot of them because everything's been executed pretty well, right? And then we have Daniel has an opportunity to create, and then Pitt goes into scramble mode, and he's in the back of the end zone. His job is to kind of mirror the quarterback. He does a great job of that, and Daniel throws a laser, man. And it was not an easy catch that Pittman made, and diving out, and like you said, kind of has the distraction going on with two guys running in front of him, and like you said, I agree, Matt. I think that's the best play we've seen, the best playmaking play we've seen from the Colts this year.
This is crazy. The Colts have already won 3 games this year by at least 20 points. Last time that happened in a single season, you have to go back to 2021, your last year in the NFL, right? So they had no 20-point victories in 2022, 2023, or 2024. All of their wins last year were by 1 score. I mean, this was like the cardiac Colts a year ago. Now we're just like on cruise control, basically, topping pops in the fourth quarter, having fun and talking about what it means in the big picture. The last time the Colts, this is fun, the last time the Colts won a game by at least 34 points was your rookie season in Jacksonville.
Ooh.
You guys that year beat the Jaguars 37-3, I think the score was. Do you remember anything about that game?
I do remember that game. So I think it was like week 3.
Yeah, I think it was at Jacksonville.
So that was the first. That was the first time I got in on offense.
Yep.
Okay, so I remember this very clearly because we were up by 34 points. So I got in. So I get in and this is my first. I've played a little bit of special teams through the first couple games, and I was getting to play some offense at tight end, and we're running a power play. So I'm double teaming with the tackle, going up to the linebacker, and I remember being like, man, I'm going to smoke this guy. And coming down full gas, come flying down to hit the linebacker. He olays me, makes the tackle. Whoosh. And I remember going back to my apartment or hotel, wherever I was staying at the time, and watching that play maybe 1,000 times, thinking, the Colts are going to cut me. It's over. God. It's over. You missed one play. But yeah, I remember rolling down there in Jacksonville that rookie year and getting some offensive plays. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, they gave you some saving grace.
They
stuck with you, and I think they made the right call right there. Jack Doyle. One of the things that was so impressive about last week's game, and by the way, we got a big show the rest of the way. We're going to talk about, again, the big picture of this. We're going to talk about the landscape of the AFC and, just talk about if the Colts are legit, and I think that they are. But also Michael Pittman Jr., your guy. Yeah. You played with him for a couple of years. He's going to join the show, and he's going to sit here in my chair and talk with Jack in just a few minutes. But, they were, going back to this game, the Colts were really able to limit the damage. I don't know if that's the right word or the phrase for it, but they really negated what Max Crosby can do, right? He had a tackle for loss. He had a pass defense, but he didn't wreck the game. The defense did a great job of shutting down Ashton Dulin. How did the Colts' ability to be successful in those two areas really give them, a chance to, put this game on ice and set it on cruise control? They played with the lead, and when you do that, Dulin can't, be afforded to run the ball 25 times, and if the game's close, Max Crosby can't come off the edge and pin his ears back, I should say, and wreck the game with tackles for loss and sacks. Yeah,
well, and I think the Colts had a great plan. Speaking of Crosby, playing against Max Crosby, he's a heck of a player. There's very few DNs that produce on both the run game and the pass game, and he gets after the quarterback, but he doesn't take plays off in the run game. He plays every play, pin his ears back full tilt,
right?
And he's a great player. But the Colts had a great plan. You saw them, calling the protection to his side, and then a lot of times there was a tight end helping, right, and getting extra hands on Crosby to slow him down. And the Colts, again, had a great plan going into it. And credit Braden Smith. Braden's played against Max a bunch, throughout his career. They kind of came in around the same time, if I'm right.
Yeah.
So they know each other well, but let's credit Braden, too, and the way he's played not only Sunday but throughout this whole season.
No doubt. I mean, Braden's always done a nice job on Max Crosby.
Yeah.
You look at all the accolades and the numbers that Crosby's racked up. He doesn't do that against the Colts.
No.
And that's a huge tip of the cap to Braden Smith.
Braden does it week in, week out. I don't think he gets hyped up enough the way he plays football, man. He's just a great player.
Another guy that I don't think gets hyped up enough. I'm glad that you use that phrase, because that's exactly the way that I would use to describe Ashton Dulin.
Oh, yeah.
Jack, I mean, you know this guy real well. He came in 19?
19.
So you played a couple years with Ashton, undrafted free agent, Division II Malone University.
No football.
Who, by the way, does not have a football program anymore. Jack, he's one of my favorite Colts players, along with you. He's one of my favorite guys of all time because he just does the dirty work. He's humble. He's easy to talk to. He's got great character about him. No Alec Pierce the other day, missed his second straight game with concussion. A.D. Mitchell, obviously, still trying to work his way through some things with the coaching staff after that very uneven performance the week before against the Rams. So Ashton comes in. He's the number 2 wide receiver opposite of Michael Pittman Jr., has a couple of big catches wiped off. Took the hit from Jeremy Chin, local kid from Fishers. Good pop there on the outside. So he doesn't get that one. But he still has 2 big catches for 55 yards, has a 20-yarder, a 35-yarder, who, by the way, those were the biggest receptions of the game for the Colts. He has the 98-yard kickoff return wiped off due to a kind of a sketchy penalty, right? So he's still doing it on special teams. Jack, why doesn't Ashton Dulin get to play more? Because every time he steps in on offense, I've always wondered this. He delivers. I know they've got great players around him, and A.D. Mitchell still oozing with potential, but I always wonder why Ashton Dulin doesn't have more of a role, because I think he's deserving of it.
Yeah, he's done it in his whole career. Like you said, I mean, when I was Ashton's teammate, we always said, big play Dulin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was every time he came in, he was making a big play on a jet sweep, or we were throwing him a post route or something like that, and he's an all-star in his role, and that's what coaches want. They define your role, right? And if you can be humble enough to be an all-star in just your role, and that's what Ashton does week in, week out. His role changes throughout the season. It'll be 3 weeks where he's wide receiver 2, and then there's 4 weeks where he's, just a special teams ace.
Yeah.
But every single time he's asked to do something, he does it well, and he takes advantage of his opportunities. And like you said, he can't come from a better guy, and he's so easy to be a fan of and to cheer for, because just the way he carries himself, the way he works in practice. I remember him coming in 2019 and just being so raw and new to, not new to football, but in a way, new to wide receiver. Yeah, it was a big step up, and he worked so hard on his hands and was always working after practice on his catches, and he's a physical freak all at the same time. I mean, I don't know why his role doesn't grow. I mean, maybe it's because he's so good in the role he's in, right? So why change it, right? I don't know, but he probably deserves more of an opportunity, but he's not the guy that's ever going to be the diva and be like, hey, I need more play or whatever.
Right.
And he's so good on special teams, so there's probably a little give and take from the offensive coaches to the special teams coaches. Be like, hey, don't take him too much away. Rigo's probably fighting, hey, don't take my number one gunner and get him tired on offense.
He's a gunner. He's a return man. He's a receiver.
He's got to cover the most ground in a football game. If you look at the yardage this guy.
Look at his steps.
Yeah, look at the yardage this guy runs. But like you said, we can't be talking about a better guy. And he's just such a great person and a great football player. And like you said, it has been the same guy since the day he showed up on the Colts. And like I said, there's not a bigger fan than me of Ashton Dulin. Big play Dulin, baby.
Yeah, I mean, we say all the time, well, Ashton Dulin stepped up. Well, I mean, he always steps up.
Right.
So, I mean, we got to come up with a different way to put this. I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. As we sit here and talk right now, we don't know about Alec Pierce and his availability for the upcoming game against the Cardinals. Still don't know about A.D. Mitchell's playing time and how they're hashing that out. I mean, what does Dulin's performance mean in the short term, let's say, for the Colts on offense? I mean, long story short, if they have to play with Dulin as their number 2, number 3, most teams will be dying for that.
Well, sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Coaches are always going to play who they trust. And what this game did, it reassured the trust that they already knew they had in Ashton Dulin, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
And they already knew what they had in Ashton, and he came out and produced in his opportunity. And that's all you, as a player, all you want is opportunities, and you want to take advantage of them. Again, Ashton has done that since day one.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since he's got an opportunity, he's always taken advantage of it. And he's a coach's dream, man, because of the way he carries himself, the way he shows up every single day. He's the same person every single day and just works his tail off and still and all that, but also is a phenomenal football player and makes plays. So what more can you ask for?
Yeah, not much, man. Not much at all. Ashton Dulin, tip of the cap. Attaboy to you, number 16 for the Indianapolis Colts. All right, Michael Pittman Jr. is coming up in just a few minutes, but I want to transition here. I want to lay out some time on this part of the podcast. I want to call it, how do you explain this?
Okay.
All right, Jack Doyle, explain what we're seeing right here. That's the theme of the next couple of topics. And this offense, like we talked about, it's just on fire right now. 6 for 6 in the red zone last week. The Colts didn't allow a sack. They didn't turn the football over against the Raiders. The Colts have scored over 40 points twice this season. Their point differential is the best in the NFL. It's at plus 74 right now. And so that's what they're doing this year. Last year, the Colts only scored 22 points per game. They were 22nd in red zone offense. And these are season-long stats, by the way. This is where they finished. They were 19th in turnovers. And if you look at what they had last year personnel-wise, they still had Jonathan Taylor. They had guys like Quentin Nelson, Michael Pittman Jr. was here last year. Alec Pierce was here last year. Josh Downs, Mo Alley Cox, Bernard Ryman, so on and so forth, right? How do you explain this level of offensive execution when basically, outside of a couple guys, and I understand there's a key guy here now in Daniel Jones, but outside of that, and maybe you throw that in there too, Jack, how do you explain what we're seeing now when most of the core players on this offense were here a year ago too?
Well, like you said, Matt, there's an obvious one there that, a quarterback that plays with confidence, and that's what Daniel's doing right now, that confidence spews over the whole team, let alone the offense, right? And I see every guy playing with confidence, and that starts with the quarterback. You see Daniel Jones playing with confidence, and a sign of a confident quarterback and a good quarterback is he's making everyone else's job easy, right? He's making the guys have to think less because he's doing the heavy lifting, right?
Yeah.
And putting these guys in great positions. But also these guys have to be practicing with a purpose, right? I can't say it enough. And I'm not to say they didn't practice with a purpose last year or anything like that, because you practice with a purpose to give yourself the best opportunity. And right now those opportunities are going the Colts' way. And these guys are great leaders. They have another year under their belt, the guys you're listening, and they're understanding what it takes to practice with a purpose. And give Shane credit, because he's tweaking some things and pushing these guys in different ways. And again, it comes back to how they're preparing in the week. You don't just show up on Sundays and these things happen. You don't go 6 for 6 in the red zone without practicing the right way.
Yeah.
You don't go 8 for 10 on third down without practicing the right way. And shout out the scout teams too. The scout team has to be giving great looks and pushing these guys in the week. It's always going to be about practice. I don't want to sound like Allen Iverson here. We're talking about practice, but it is. It's about practice.
Man, we're talking about practice.
Let everybody know you have to practice to get better. And that's I'm not watching the Colts practices, but I guarantee you they're practicing with a lot of intensity and practicing the right way.
You got any Jim Mora in you too?
Playoffs.
He stunk out there, right?
Excuse me.
We're going to break them all out here today. One of the things too, going along with that, you look at, Daniel Jones, and he's having just such a phenomenal season. And he's taking good care of the football. His decision-making is off the charts. He's decisive. He quick decisions, pinpoint accuracy, Sunday-level accuracy, as we like to say. But, he's not like Patrick Mahomes out there. Like the highlights aren't sexy. And I think that just speaks to just how many playmakers this Colts offense has, and Tyler Warren and Alec Pierce and Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. The Colts have 3 receivers already over 20 catches.
Wow.
They have, throw in Jonathan Taylor too. He's got 16 receptions already on the season. So he's spreading the ball around. He's like the point guard of this offense. But I still think there's naysayers that watch the film and they look at Daniel Jones' his highlights, and he's just making good decisions. He's going, the right place with the football. If a naysayer to you, came up to you in the grocery store or something and said, "Yeah, Daniel Jones is having a good season, but he's still Daniel Jones," how would you refute that? How would you, what would your rebuttal to that be?
Well, A, they're not watching the games, and B, they don't know football. And my rebuttal to that would be is the sign of a good quarterback, we kind of just talked about with Ashton, and what Daniel's doing so well is he's an all-star in his role, right? He's not trying to do too much. Guys get caught up trying to do too much sometimes, and when you have all the weapons that he has at his disposal, it's so important to stay within yourself, right, and be an all-star in your role. And he's played nearly perfect football through 5 weeks, right? I mean, who wouldn't take this, coming out of training camp? And if he continues to stay in his role, knowing the weapons he has around him, I mean, how can you refute that? And again, you're not watching the games if you don't see the way this guy's playing right now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Michael Pittman Jr. has just rolled up in studio, so we got that coming up in just a second. So hang on tight for that. But one more as it relates to how you explain everything here, Jack. The Colts have finished 4 games this season with 1 or fewer sacks and no turnovers, right? So in all 4 of their wins, they're not giving the football up, and they're protecting Daniel Jones incredibly well. How do you explain what we're seeing from this offensive line right now?
They're playing together, right? I mean, that's what an offensive line needs to do, right? If you're playing 5 as 1, you're really tough to beat. And they all look on the same page. And, it's not just the offensive line. Let's give Jonathan Taylor another shout out in the way he's picking up blitzes right now. I mean, he's taking a huge stride forward in that. And these guys, again, they just look all connected. They all look on the same page. They're giving in that extra effort. Daniel's able to move around with his legs and create plays. And you don't give up negative plays. That's the telltale sign of a winning football team, right? And that's what the Colts O-line is doing right now.
Absolutely. Shout out to the offensive line up front. Now we got a shout out to a guy on the outside making big plays. He already has 4 touchdowns in the NFL so far this season. The great Michael Pittman Jr. We're going teammate on teammate right now. Jack Doyle, Michael Pittman Jr. one-on-one right here, right now on the Jack Doyle Podcast.
Here we are, joined by my friend, former teammate Michael Pittman Jr. What's up, Pitt? Thanks for joining us.
Man?
Yeah, good, man.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to make this super simple, right? Laid back here, Pitt. We're going to ask you some questions, get to know Pitt a little bit and why he's one of my favorite players on the Colts and what he's all about here. So, Pitt, let's get it rolling. So, first off, okay, so my favorite thing about you, Pitt, and there's not a bigger compliment I can say to someone than calling them a football player. And I don't really know how to describe that, but you are a football player. You play this game physical, not only in run after catch and how you run your routes, but in the run game. Have you always been that way? Because, my perception of you, right, when you came in as a rookie, here comes this USC, LA diva receiver. That's what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. And then the first camp, you proved me wrong very, very quickly. So where does that physicality come from in both the pass and the run game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes from watching my dad play as I grew up and just how he ran and how he blocked and how he preached being unselfish.
Yeah.
And just really having love for my guys and anytime that JT has that ball, you never know, he could bring it backside instantly, and then now I better make sure that I'm getting this block because JT could take it 80 yards.
Yeah.
So really just out there for the guys and just giving effort, because effort is the number one thing, of any good football team, and I expect that from everyone else, so I got to be the one out there giving it.
Yeah, and let's call it what it is, Pitt. You're wide receiver 1, right? And when wide receiver 1 is blocking the way you block, that whole wide receiver room better be blocking the exact same way. So that's what I've always loved about you, Pitt, in the way you play football. But you're such a nice guy off the field. You're funny. I don't know if people know this. You're a bit of a prankster,
yeah.
Right? You got a little bit of that on you.
Yeah.
But on the field, you're a killer, right? I mean, you play this game, like you said, the biggest compliment I give, you're a football player. How do you flip that switch? How do you go from dad, fun-loving guy, prankster, to the Michael Pittman we see on Sundays?
Yeah, there's a time period pregame where once I put my once I put my eye black on, that I try to transform into a different guy, and I actually used to struggle with turning that off, but actually my now wife, we've been together for 13 going on 14 years. Back in college and high school, I couldn't really turn that off, and I wouldn't perform up to my expectation, and I would be out of character. I'd be upset, mad. I didn't want to talk to anybody, and just avoiding people, and she kind of helped me through that. And we would talk after games, hey, I know that you're upset it didn't go this way, but you shouldn't be treating people like this, just because you're upset. And years and years of her helping me out. Now, because I have 3 kids now, so I can't come home and be upset. It's not their fault if I didn't perform well. So, it definitely took some time, but now I can just turn that switch off, and I credit that to my wife and kids.
Yeah, shout out to the wives and the girlfriends. They deal with the wrath at home of us not playing well.
Yeah.
But that's well put, Pitt, because I said, well, how do you turn that switch on, right? And you talked about not only turning that switch on, but you got to turn that switch off, right? Yeah. And now you go back to being a dad, being the Pitt I know as a friend, right, and fun-loving guy, and that's something really cool. So it's eye black on, switch on, go in the shower, eye black off, switch off, right? All right,
exactly.
Cool. Okay, so 4-1 start.
Yeah.
How much fun are you having playing football? Because we get, being a former player, we get to play a kid's game.
Yeah.
And when you're winning, it's that much more fun. So how much fun are you having right now?
Absolutely. I mean, it has been incredible, and just the way that nobody believed in us, and just us going and proving people wrong, and doing what we all thought that we could do. Because in training camp, like, we knew that we were a good team. And everybody kept on telling us, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, and now we're proving people wrong. And I just feel like the vibe inside the locker room, the camaraderie, which we actually have shortened down to ROD. So like, if like you hear me say ROD, it's it's referencing camaraderie. So we got great ROD going on, and we're just loving it right now.
Yeah, you can't beat. It's all about the locker room, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's Chris Ballard's thing. We've been and sit in the same meetings, right? Yeah. It's all about the locker room. It's all about the locker room. So the rod's high. The rod is high in the locker room.
The rod is high.
The rod is high.
It's flowing.
All right, that's perfect. So let's talk about one of your teammates, right? Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. You got here in 2020. Me and you, for a couple years, we went through the quarterback carousel. You continued on,
Yeah.
took the torch and kept it going with what it's been. Talk about the challenges of, in the past. I don't want to go to the past, and we want to stay in the present, but the challenges of working with a different quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And talk about how quickly, what do you have, 3 touchdowns through 5 games right now? How quickly you've connected with Daniel and why? Talk about the challenges of connecting with a new guy, mm-hmm. and why it's going so well.
Yeah, I'd start out with saying that I've been fortunate here that we brought in a bunch of very talented guys. Like, we're not bringing guys like off of the street, from Phillip all the way to Danny now, and everybody like in between. But the extra work that goes in is just getting to know one another, and like how they throw the ball and where they miss, and like their arm angle, because like you can tell like how your quarterback throws, like just like when like you look up and their elbows up high or low, or their arms, and like you can kind of tell, hey, you're gonna put it here or there, and like just getting to learn that, whether they like you sitting in zones or they want you to run through, or just those small little like subtleties, and like you got to put in extra work. So OTAs is always more of a grind, because like you got to get that time in. But from day one, we knew Danny had a really good shot, and he came in here with his head down, and he's been working hard, and nothing has changed. He still works like it's day one, and he has a day one mentality. And I feel like that's why he shows up every single week, and he's going to continue to keep being the guy that we see now.
Yeah, you talked about arm angle, so it made me think of Phillip Rivers, right? And a guy we played with in your rookie season. So I'm gonna do a quick little tangent. Let's compare Phillip and Daniel. I just want to know what kind of how Daniel's kind of ticking. Never had the opportunity to play with Daniel, but Phillip, if you remember, it was more like, hey, get up there and turn in. It was more laid back. Yeah. Is Daniel more like that, or is it more a guy like Andrew Luck, who I played with? It was more detailed. It's like it's got to be on that 4th outside step. Then you're coming out of the break. How would you describe Daniel? Yeah,
Danny's definitely more like Phil, like in that aspect where he kind of leaves it up to us to kind of be creative, and I think that helps us, because we don't have to just if there's open space, like go ahead there and sit, catch a pass, versus hey, I got to make sure that I get to this landmark or take my 5th step, like even though the defense is sitting right there. So I feel like that's what helps us get completions. And I feel like Shane's offense, he really lets us play and plays to all of our strengths, and it's really helping us mesh, just like as like offense.
Is that what you did on your first catch against the Raiders? The nickel came.
The shallow?
No, maybe it wasn't your first catch, but the nickel came and you kind of just turned around.
Yeah. So that is one of those where I felt the space, and hey, there's no need to run like into that safety that's coming down at me, right? So just catch a pass and try to turn up and make somebody miss.
Yeah, you did, and finished it the way Pitt finishes runs, baby. That's what I love. Is that the one where you got tackled and then you kept trying to run?
No, that was another one. Yeah, so that was the shallow.
Pitt, your butt was down, your knee was down, your forearm was down.
I said I don't feel nothing on game day.
And you're still running. No, that's what makes me love you, man. All right, so we'll keep talking about that Raiders game. You had a pass thrown to you thrown to you
Yep.
by a tight end.
Yep.
My guy, Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
Do you wish that he would have lobbed that up and gave you – they did a great job covering it.
Yeah.
Tyler made the right play. I'm kind of joking with this question, right? Tyler made the right play and throwing it away. But did you give him any crap? Hey, man, give me a chance there. Let me moss this guy or anything like that?
Yeah, so I actually didn't because it was a smart play there.
I saw you give the thumbs up when he threw it away.
Yeah, I mean, they completely, didn't go for it.
No.
The corner on the snap just faced me up, and the safety stayed high. And unfortunately, we burned that play, so it's probably gone until next year possibly. But, I mean, it was a smart play, but could he have thrown it up? Absolutely, and it would have been another touchdown.
Always,
so.
yeah. Then we'd be talking about 4 Michael Pittman touchdowns through 5 games. All right, Pitt, I want to get you out of here. This is your day off, busy week, right? So I don't want it to keep you too long. But you know that you're my middle son, Henry's favorite player.
Shout out Henry.
Shout out Henry. When Henry was 3, all he wanted for Christmas was a Michael Pittman Jr. jersey, and he got that Michael Pittman Jr. jersy. So I asked Henry on the way to school, I told him, hey, Henry, I'm interviewing Pitt, interviewing, quotation marks, so I don't really know how to interview. Do you have a question for him? And this is what he came up with. He said he wants to know, what is your favorite route to run as a wide receiver and why?
Honestly, my favorite route is any route that I'm getting the ball on, because that means that I have the chance to score. So, I mean, I'll run whatever. I mean, if you want me to run the 5-yard routes, I'll do that as long as those passes are coming. You want me to run deep? Heck, let's go. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember about you, Pitt, is, when we were teammates, whenever we do one-on-ones, you always ran a go route. Do you still do that first every single time?
They don't let us do that anymore.
Oh,
so Reggie picks all of our routes now. So
it was every single time. You're like, I'm running a go route, and I'm setting up everything else. That's what I always love about you, Pitt. Man, you play the game the right way. I love that you're my son's favorite player because, like I said, you're a football player, and there's not a better compliment I can give as a person. Appreciate you joining me, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Pitt.
Well done right there. Jack Doyle and Michael Pittman Jr., his favorite route, anytime I'm getting the football. Spoken like a true number 1, man.
Yeah, I love it.
You can relate, right?
Yeah. Anytime they thought about throwing me the ball was my favorite route, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Good stuff right there. I love player-on-player interaction, conversation. It just brings out certain things that are great for the fan base. So hope you really enjoyed that. I know I did, and we'll have more of these interviews with Jack, talking with Colts players throughout the season here on the Jack Doyle Podcast. We're closing out here. I'm back, by the way. I'm Matt Taylor here. We're closing out this this version of the show here with big deal or big whoop. You get what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
We're talking about, RK, is it a big deal what we're talking about, or big whoop, like sarcastic? These things will kind of just flush out on their own. So I want to talk about the 40-6 dismantling of the Raiders, but also big win this year against Miami. Big win this year, 20-plus points against Tennessee, Jack. Those are 3 enormous victories where the Colts took care of business, but those 3 teams are combined 3-12 on the season. So again, we kind of talked about before Pitt joined the show, some of the naysayers out there, the people that are still kind of wanting to see the Colts come out and prove it. Is that a big deal or a big whoop that the Colts have 3 victories over bad teams against, or I should say over 20 points in terms of margin of victory?
I think that's a big deal, Matt. I really do, because that's what you're supposed to do. If you're a good team, you should whoop on other teams,
go,
right?
baby.
I mean, there we go, a little play on words. But it is a big deal because bad teams, they might get the win, but maybe it's only by 1 score. And the NFL right now, I don't know what the percentage, you probably would know, like how many games are 1 score, right?
Yeah.
Like what were last year, how many games were 1 score games,
Tons.
right? And the Colts are blowing people out in the NFL. You don't do that. We've 3 blowouts. I mean, you just don't do that. It's just so incredible the way these Colts are playing, and they just got to keep it rolling. Like I said, they put themselves ahead of gave themselves a great head start, and it comes back to taking it 1 week at a time.
Right.
It's a week by week league, and the Colts just got to stay focused and keep rolling.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Arizona Cardinals, right? They played Tennessee last week. They were up 18 points, did not finish the deal.
No.
Right? What the Colts are doing, start to finish, taking care of business is way easier said than done, especially in this league where everybody's making big money. Everybody's really good on the other side of the on the other sideline.
Yeah, what they say, everybody's on scholarship.
There you go.
Everyone's on scholarship. They're all good.
All right, we're closing out the podcast here with You Don't Know Jack. It's our weekly staple, getting to know Jack Doyle off the field a little bit better. And Jack, this week, I want to know, what are your biggest pet peeves as a human being? Okay, I want to know your biggest, what grinds your gears as a person, but also what grinds your gears too, a follow-up to that on the football field. Like the game of football, What are your pet peeves too?
So first in life.
Yep.
So I've been married. I've been married for 10 years.
Okay. Oh, careful now.
So
careful.
Yeah, I'm.
Get yourself in
my
trouble.
loving wife Casey, love her to death. But the pet peeves, as you know, as a married man, but those pet peeves come from probably something your wife does, and this isn't a big deal what she does. All right, so Casey is a notorious. Say we got some. She bakes some cookies or something. There's some chocolate chip cookies, and she's got a little container.
Yeah.
And she'll take a cookie out and leave and take 2 bites and leave this much left of the cookie.
You are preaching.
And she's like, "Oh, I've had enough." No.
Throw it away.
Throw it away or eat it. Eat the whole cookie.
Yeah.
Don't leave a little crumb in there and act like you're going to come back and eat that later, because it's just going to sit there.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's the first pet peeve that comes to mind, because she probably did it like last night, and that's why I'm thinking of
top
it.
of mind. Right?
Yeah, but yeah.
Hey,
love you, Casey.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah, please do.
I have been a known offender, and I don't mean to do this, but I think we're all guilty of it. Like you pour yourself a little bowl of cereal, and you leave this much of the milk left.
Oh,
Does that happen to you?
put it back. Yeah.
When it happens to you, you're like hair on fire. But when you do it on accident, you're like, hey, we've all been there. We're all guilty of it.
Leaving an empty box in the pantry of whatever.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, but that is, and it's little things like that. That's marriage in a nutshell, right? That's family life.
You're living with a person.
Yeah, in a nutshell, right? We don't mean to do it, but it happens. So switching to football.
Okay.
Pet peeve in football. So this was a pet peeve of mine. It kind of came up later in my career, and it still bothers me. I'm trying to put this the right way without calling out refs. Refs again, okay? So
right.
I believe holding has changed. Offensive holding. I think defensive players have been taught to throw their hands up or flop when they know they're not going to make a play.
Yeah.
And I feel like I got called on it a couple times late in my career, and I'm seeing it now where a guy's not even going to be involved in a play, and a guy's got his hands inside, he's blocking them well. The guy's not trying to fight off the block, right, and just throwing his hands up, right? Oh, he's holding me, the flop, right?
Making it look like he's
and it's making
held.
a lot more holding calls. Yeah. I don't know how you officiate it better, but it's a pet peeve of mine, right? I remember getting called on one.
Yeah.
My last game against Jacksonville, blocking Josh Allen on the backside, and I can tell as the blocker when a guy's actually trying to fight off the block or if he knows he's out of the play type deal.
Right.
And Josh just kind of, threw his hands up or whatever. Wasn't really trying to fight off the block.
Yeah.
Because he's a great player, right? And I can feel the difference. And when he's trying to do that, hands go up.
Yeah.
Flag call.
Here comes flag.
So that's my biggest pet peeve. I don't know how they ref it better.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking from personal experience. It still gets me fired up.
Yeah, it keeps you up at night.
It keeps me up at night, right? I mean, Matt, you're a defensive guy, so maybe you can. But I feel like it's changed. I feel like it started getting coached around 2020.
Yeah, just
2019.
being demonstrative about it.
Yeah,
Right?
it's the NBA flop to a degree, right? The foul baiting that they say, right, with the NBA players. But yeah, so those are my pet peeves. Get me all fired up as we end the show here.
I thought you were going to say like shotgun 4th and 1, running the ball out of the gun.
Yeah, that'll
that's
get you
everybody's.
too. Illegal formations drive me nuts.
Yeah.
That should never happen. Know where you're supposed to line up.
There you go.
And know when you're on the ball. No simple football rules. That's another one that drives me crazy. I'm probably guilty of it, so I probably should feel we're going to go back and look at it, right?
That is what grinds Jack Doyle's gears, both in life and on the football field. That's always a fun little way to end the podcast.
Yeah,
there,
right.
Getting to know Jack Doyle on You Don't Know Jack. What we do know, the Colts are back on the game field coming up week 6 already, man. Time is flying. It's the Colts and Cardinals, Lucas Oil Stadium. What do you got planned coming up this
We're
weekend?
there. Families, everyone's going.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We're all going.
Come on now.
We got, with Jacoby Brissett, one of my best friends.
Of course.
So we got to go see Jacoby. Obviously, we're pulling for the Colts and all that fun stuff, but it'll be good to see Jacoby.
Absolutely, man. We'll stop by Touchdown Town.
Yeah,
if you
we'll
can.
do.
We'll put you on. We'll we'll give you a job. We'll put you to work.
I like it.
On the pregame show.
I like it.
We'll put the rest of the family on the air too. Give them a shout out right there. The Doyles coming to Lucas Oil Stadium. We hope that you can as well. If not, we got you covered on the radio broadcast. And of course, we're going to be back here doing it again next week, breaking down Colts and Cardinals on the Jack Doyle Podcast. For the great Jack Doyle, I'm Matt Taylor. Also, thanks to Michael Pittman Jr. this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll be back next week on the Colts Podcast channel. So long.